Morning, everybody. My name's Jase, and I first became homeless in 2009. I just lost an 8-year career at sea on a major cruise line because my mental health had completely eroded. I landed in Vancouver. I was completely broken from the experience. I had no money, no friends, no family, so completely lost. I had checked myself and my 2 bags into a homeless shelter. The shelters in Vancouver are overcrowded and time sensitive, as you can imagine, and 2 weeks was the max that I was able to stay. Because I hadn't been in Canada for 8 years, I could not get any immediate support. No welfare, no doctor, not unless I'd been a resident for 3 months. So out of options, I bought a tent and I joined the homeless tent town on Broadway right underneath a SkyTrain stop. So 3 months turned into 6 months before I finally got into welfare. My mental health had eroded to such a point that I started turning to substances to manage how things were going. Because I mean, if you really look at it, nobody kind of wakes up, unzips their tent in the Lower East Side and says, "Man, this is an awesome day." It became a hustle just to survive. When people ask me what it was like, I usually answer it was uncomfortable. And it's because the actual truth makes the people I'm telling uncomfortable. People don't want to hear the truth. When you say something like, the man before you has been sexually assaulted, he's been beaten, he's been robbed by other homeless people, he's been ignored, spit on, shamed by the passersby, and constantly told he was hopeless and refused service by professionals. Homelessness, addiction, mental health, food insecurity, it's all intermingled. I'm not telling you something you don't already know, but the stress, that's the invisible killer. Gabor Mate, in some of his interviews, has been quoted as saying, "We're in a punitive system, one that is built to add volumes of stress on people who are already stressed." Can you imagine your livelihood or your life on the line each and every single day? It goes from a regular person's month-to-month existence to a second-by-second existence. Homeless individuals will sacrifice the future to make the present more manageable. After the first year, I left for Nanaimo. Fortunate for me, my substance abuse was noticeable enough that after 6 months of rotating between Park Bench and the Salvation Army, I was accepted into treatment. I was getting to the point of no return because I needed consistent shelter. 3 hots and a cot is what they call it. I'll take that every day of the week, which is why I was considering even robbing a liquor store. Jail had to be better than the street. It was dry, it had food, and the way I saw it, the same animals are in jail that are on the street. I completed the treatment program, I got out, and I failed at life again because I had no follow-up support. But I'd learned that treatment will take me, so I went back to another treatment center again. I got out, and I failed again. Now, treatment helped me to a point. I became less feral, less crazy, enough to know that I needed to fight for a change, because if no one was going to help me, I had to help myself. So I took up a local agency's offer for a bus ticket out of province. I did some digging, and I chose Kenora. Like I said, less crazy. I'm not really sure why I chose Kenora. Just landed in Kenora, and of course, everywhere I go, there I am. So my problems came with me. So I ended up in detox. Detox led to Delart Manor. Delart Manor led to the Smith here in Thunder Bay, and that's where things changed for the first time. I finally received treatment for my mental health, and I addressed my poor coping skills. However, this system is not geared towards getting people off the system. It takes forever to move along when there isn't consistent support. So I went from the Smith to 3Cs to Seaway, all while being on welfare. But I was stuck in the recovery narrative, and it's difficult to secure meaningful employment when your address and telephone number are that of an institution. It's almost impossible to gain safe housing here in town without spending every cent you get from Ontario Works on it. And it's almost as if the landlords here intentionally set the bar too high to intentionally avoid my kind. Subsidized housing is a 2 or 3 year wait if you're single. I could make and have a child and then get into family assisted living faster than I would as a single person. Having 5 years with nothing on a resume makes it also very difficult to gain decent employment. You can't just put finding yourself. And to be honest with you, lying about it just makes my stress and my guilt more prominent. And I just can't lie anymore. Running from my past and from who I was takes so much energy. And if people can't accept me for who I am, then so be it. It's not on me, it's on them for not accepting me. And ultimately, to lie and everything else just makes me unhappy. What I did figure out, though, is that my environment had to change for me to feel safe. You can't grow an oak tree in contaminated soil. I finally got a psychiatrist, but was subsequently fired after 3 sessions because I refused to take medication only to be sedated and unproductive. Year after that, finally got a family doctor, one who listens, one who isn't suspicious of me always looking for drug-seeking behavior. I found a quality counselor at the Smith who advocated for me and hooked me up with Alpha Court, so I was being rebuilt slowly. I wanted to go back to school, and I wanted to learn social work. My honest motivation, though, was to learn how to fix myself, seeing that I was having no luck with the system. And I didn't really want to be in the field, and especially for a guy who didn't finish grade 10 and who took 4 tries to pass the mature student test, I didn't have a whole lot of faith in me. Now, though, I'm in my 3rd year at school. I was in the social service program at the college. I'm now at LU working towards 2 degrees at the same time, Bachelor in Philosophy and my honors Bachelor in Social Work. I carry an 85 grade average across all 3 years, which I think is amazing for a guy with a grade 10 education. I won't be leaving school until both my master's and my PhD are complete in social work. And I mean, really, who would have thought? Apparently, I'm good at what I do, but I also love what I do. The big problem, though, is I'm still in the system. I'm in the system right now. I have to use food banks. I have to collect handouts from the government. And this isn't a lack of effort on my part. I believe I've got more drive than the average individual, but yet I'm still stuck. Quick fixes, time-sensitive treatment, these are the surface band-aids covering deep wounds. There doesn't seem to be any prevention, any sustainability, at least from where I stand and from what I've seen. The only thing holding me up, to be honest with you, from being back in the thick of my problems, is subsidized apartments from Alpha Court. I'm in a regular apartment building right now with regular people, and this building has no time limit. I'm in a building now where people know me as Jase the student, budding philosopher and social worker, the friendly guy who talks to everybody, not Jase who's collecting ODSP, the former addict or homeless guy, or the dummy who didn't get past grade 10. What I've come to understand is no matter how much education I get, though, no matter what I achieve in life, a part of me is still out there. You can take the kid off the street, but you can't take the street out of the kid. I do consider myself blessed for my experiences. It affords me the opportunity to talk to people about it like today. It lets me work right on the front lines with comfort and no fear. It allows me to forge relationships with those still out on the street who are still at risk. It is one thing to tell someone they're not alone, but it's another thing to feel that you're not alone. That kind of reassurance is what saved me, and it's why I'm here talking to you now. So thank you for the opportunity to share with you my thoughts, my experiences. Namaste. Oh.
We'll just sort of one at a time, but and Jase, you can come join us. We'll see what people would like to ask.
Sorry, I'm recording it.
That's right. Please.
Hi, Jase. I just have to ask you. You look like you're basically you're male. You're Caucasian. Did you find barriers? Because you're not supposed to be as homeless as society would like to think, right? Like if you look up here in the north and there, we don't really have an idea of what a homeless person looks like, right? Like in northwestern Ontario, we got stereotypes about it. People would look at you again and think you look like a professor too. right. Because I'm just wondering if you found that people had a harder time accepting you because you weren't a female leaving a battered situation, you weren't a racialized minority, or that. Did you find you were treated differently?
You want the honest answer?
Yeah.
Yes, there was a distinct difference coming from British Columbia to here. I didn't have to jump through the hoops that I expected to jump through. I don't know if that is white male privilege that I received. Maybe it could just be a stroke of luck, like there is some divine intervention. I don't know. I do know though, I have a lot more support here. I have a lot more. I'm going to call it luck because I don't know if I can honestly say if I benefited from that end. To answer your question, though, it's not a negative. Like I mean, it's again, I clean up well. I've got pictures that you should see where it's it took a while to finally get the image back together again, but I think I had a certain skill set prior to working on cruise ships. So I mean, I was cognizant of what was important to be presented to be able to get what I needed to do. So I think that's where I benefited a lot. Yeah, I don't know. Does that answer?
No, I just wonder, because like I said, right now you look cleaned up, and like I said, we often see the face of the homeless are bearded and you know, clearly or racialized minorities in that there, and you look like just a, you know, cruise ship guy.
Well, I mean, again, it's like mental health, right? You can't see it. It's internally. Like, I'll disclose a little bit of personal information. I haven't dated since I was homeless. I have a hard time making friends because when your world collapses to such an aspect, you can't commit to things because you're afraid of losing it or you're afraid of putting people through that. So the psychological underpinnings and the ramifications of my experiences may not be visible on the surface, but I mean, it's if you spend time getting to know me, you're kind of like, well, yeah, there's some quirks there. So.
Others? In the back.
I was wondering how long Jase was on out for court if somebody else is waiting list for housing.
That was almost instantaneous, and it was 2 times actually. But again, with homelessness being such a everything's transient, right? So a lot of things I've seen with people gaining homes here, they get a home, but they're not able to sustain it. They're missing those life skills components. So I mean, working at the Salvation Army on the front line, I noticed a lot of the guys would go get an apartment and then they would come back. And it wasn't because of lack of trying. It's because they just did not know how to function away from the institution. And it's so I mean, there was always places becoming available. So it's yeah, I don't know. It's not that there was a lack of housing. I just don't think there's enough support to be able to keep people in the houses.
Got time for one more. If somebody has a question.
Hi, Jase. I'm Janine Black. I'm from St. Joe's Hospital. I'm curious if you ever suffered from any more physical illnesses, or if you lived with people on the street who were suffering from a lot of physical ailments or mobility issues or things like that, and how you saw things were different for them.
Can you define physical illnesses?
Like illnesses that would bring you into an acute care setting or rehab setting, so wounds or anything that was going to bring you medically.
So for me, or what I see out there, or what I saw. Sorry.
Well, whether you experienced that or from the people you were living with on the street, if you saw that and what kind of challenges they faced that were different from you if you hadn't faced that yourself.
No one likes going into the hospital. No one takes care of stuff. I've seen people with broken collarbones. I've seen people almost lose their arm. The wound care doesn't get taken care of at all. For me personally, teeth. You know, like I had a tooth go abscess, and I'm just not going to go to a dentist. So I mean, like it took me, oh man. So I mean, like that's small potatoes to the stuff that's out there. So many people are unwilling to, you know, with intravenous drug use, their wound gets infected and they just keep putting it off. Like I know they come to P.A.C.E. They'll come to P.A.C.E. because they don't want to go to the hospital. So they'll have frontline worker take care of it instead of going and facing the coldness of a hospital. I don't want to say stigma per se, but yeah. There's an unwillingness by a lot of the people on the street to want to go in and get help because of the way they were treated in the past.
Well, Jase, Mandy, thank you so much for sharing your story and your information. I would encourage others throughout the day to come up and talk with our guest speakers, learn a little bit more. We do really appreciate the